We all know the exact feeling. It's, late, maybe 2 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You can't sleep, so you're just mindlessly flipping through channels on your television, letting that weird glow just sort of wash over your living room.
Right, just zoning out completely.
Exactly. And suddenly you land on a live shopping network. There's someone on screen, perfectly lit, just enthusiastically demonstrating this high-tech blender that can supposedly pulverize solid concrete.
Or a mop. It's always a revolutionary mop.
Yes, a mop that promises to fundamentally change your life. And you tell yourself, I'm just going to watch for 5 seconds just to see if the blender actually breaks the concrete.
But it never is just 5 seconds, is it?
No. 10 minutes later, you are entirely captivated. You're sitting there on the edge of your couch thinking, wait, do I actually need a mop that spins at 400 revolutions per minute?
Which is such a fascinating environment to dissect, honestly.
Yeah.
Because what you're seeing on that screen, it's just the very tip of this enormous, highly calculated retail iceberg. It's really not just about a charismatic host selling a mop to night owls. I mean, it's about understanding one of the most powerful, demanding, and intricate retail machines in the entire world.
It's wild to think about it that way.
It really is. The psychology, the logistics, the sheer scale of it, it's basically a masterclass in consumer behavior.
And that is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to the deep dive. For this one, we're using this incredible insider guide from a retail consultancy firm called Retailbound.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
The breakdown is titled, Are You Ready for QVC? And let me tell you, it does not hold back on the brutal realities of this industry.
No, it really doesn't.
Our mission today is to completely demystify this high-stakes, highly lucrative ecosystem. We are going to look right past those bright studio lights to uncover the intense business strategies, the relentless gatekeeping, and the absolute logistical gymnastics required to turn an everyday product into a live television phenomenon.
And, the insights from this Retailbound piece are crucial whether you're a business owner, a marketer, or honestly, just a curious buyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because surviving in the QVC ecosystem requires a level of operational perfection that standard everyday retail environments simply never demand. I mean, it really tests a brand's breaking point.
Okay, let's unpack this. To understand how a brand actually gets onto the platform in the first place, we first have to figure out why they would put themselves through such a grueling process.
Right, why even bother?
Exactly. Why not just sell on a standard e-commerce website? Well, answer comes down to one simple, overwhelming reality, which is massive, captive scale.
Yeah.
We're talking about staggering numbers here. QVC's reach is around 380 million homes worldwide.
And we really need to pause on that number because it just cannot be overstated. 380 million homes. That means you have a live, global audience right at your fingertips.
It's hard to even picture that many people.
Right. And when you combine QVC with other major networks in the space, like HSN, the annual revenue for these television shopping giants in the United States alone is over $8 billion.
Wait, $8 billion just from TV shopping?
$8 billion. Being generated by companies showcasing physical products on television. That's a scale that a typical digital startup, one spending money on social media ads, can hardly even fathom.
That is just wild to think about. It feels like the ultimate influencer marketing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But instead of you scrolling past a fragmented, noisy social media feed while you're waiting for the bus, QVC has this dedicated, captive audience.
Because you, the viewer, have intentionally tuned in to be sold to.
Right. You're sitting in your living room, you're comfortable, ready to be entertained, and most importantly, you're ready to buy.
And that's the defining difference right there. In our modern retail landscape, which is just defined by total information overload.
Oh, yeah, pop-up ads everywhere.
Exactly. We are constantly bombarded. So having an audience whose curiosity is actively being aroused in real time, that's incredibly rare. The Retailbound breakdown points heavily to this concept of the trust factor. See, QVC has spent decades building this rock-solid reputation for curating quality products and, crucially, fulfilling customer orders effectively.
Okay.
So viewers trust the network implicitly.
Right, because if you buy something from a random Instagram ad, you might be a little worried you're getting scammed, right?
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
Or that it'll take 3 months to ship from overseas.
Yeah, exactly. But with QVC, you just don't have that friction.
Exactly. The network has essentially pre-vetted the product in the mind of the consumer. You just transfer that established trust directly to whatever new, unknown item is being showcased on the screen.
It's like a parasocial relationship.
Yes. The host feels like a friend recommending a great find. And that transferred trust bypasses a lot of normal consumer skepticism. It leads to exceptionally high conversion rates.
Which creates a highly profitable environment for the brands that can actually tap into it.
Absolutely.
But, and this is a massive but, because that financial opportunity is so huge, the barriers to entry are just astronomically steep.
Oh, they are.
You don't just call up QVC and say, hey, I have this cool blender, put me on TV.
No, you do not.
QVC is not an open marketplace where anyone can set up a digital storefront. It is a fortress.
A heavily guarded fortress. I mean, the gatekeeping is relentless. Only about 5% of applicants actually secure a spot on QVC.
Wait, 5%?
Yep, just 5.
That's literally an Ivy League college rejection rate, but for mops and blenders.
It really is.
So to even be considered for that 5%, you have to bring something incredibly specific to the table, right? Retailbound mentions the product requires a very distinct, unique selling proposition, or USP.
Right. You have to offer something entirely innovative. It has to complement what QVC already sells, but absolutely cannot replicate it.
They even have an official list for this.
Yeah, the non-acceptance list. If you're pitching, you actually have to check your product against that list before you even pick up the phone.
That is intense. They really do not want redundancy.
They don't. And let's look at the mechanics of why. If QVC already has a highly successful top-tier blender generating millions in revenue, they don't want your blender.
Unless it does something crazy.
Right, unless it does something fundamentally different. Maybe it, I don't know, cooks soup while it blends. Something their current audience hasn't seen yet.
Because otherwise they're just stealing sales from themselves.
Exactly. If they bring on a direct competitor to their best seller, they aren't generating new sales. They're just cannibalizing their own existing revenue.
Makes total sense. But beyond the uniqueness of the product, there is a massive financial hurdle that stops a lot of businesses dead in their tracks.
Oh, yeah. The minimum purchase orders.
This part blew my mind. A business must be financially prepared for minimum purchase orders that typically range between $30,000 and $35,000.
Right.
And that is at wholesale costs.
Which means businesses have to be prepared to supply thousands of physical units right out of the gate.
Hold on, let me push back on this a bit. Because that sounds like a terrible deal for a startup.
How so?
Well, wholesale is usually, what, a third or a fourth of retail price? So we're talking about a business risking $100,000 or more in retail inventory value just to get their foot in the door.
It sounds daunting, yeah.
Right. What if you manufacture all those units, spend all your startup capital, and then your 3-minute television pitch falls completely flat? Isn't that just an astronomical risk for a new business?
What's fascinating here is how Retailbound frames that specific requirement. It's not necessarily about forcing you to take a blind gamble.
Okay.
You don't always need to have $30,000 worth of inventory sitting in a warehouse gathering dust on day one before you even get a TV slot.
Oh, you don't.
Not necessarily. But your pitch absolutely must prove that you have the logistical potential for that exact kind of scalability.
Okay, so it's like a stress test. They're testing your supply chain before they let you on camera.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, QVC needs to know that if your product goes viral on air and suddenly 30,000 people try to buy it in the span of 10 minutes,
Which happens.
which totally happens, they need to know your supply chain will not shatter under the pressure. Think about that trust factor we just discussed.
Right, the reputation.
The network's entire reputation relies on fulfilling those orders. If they sell your product to 30,000 loyal viewers and you can't manufacture or ship it in time, QVC takes the reputational hit.
Oh, wow, yeah. Their customers get angry at QVC, not at you.
Exactly. So they demand vendors who intimately understand their numbers, from the raw materials on the manufacturing floor all the way through to the shipping logistics.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. They are aggressively protecting their own brand.
Absolutely.
So imagine you're the business owner, you have the capital, you survived the supply chain stress test, you know your wholesale costs down to the penny, and you have a totally unique product.
You're doing great so far.
Right. But how do you actually get someone off their couch to buy it at 2 a.m.? How do you beat that 95% rejection rate?
You have to master the pitch.
Yes. And, according to the breakdown, this requires a complete shift from traditional retail thinking into the realm of theatrical entertainment.
It's a completely different skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, you aren't just a merchant anymore, you're a producer.
Yeah.
And that theatricality begins long before you ever step foot in a television studio.
Right, because the initial application relies heavily on visual appeal, The guide points out that if you don't have professional-grade digital photos of your product, you won't even make it past the first review stage.
You are judged on aesthetics immediately.
Yep.
Because television is a strictly visual medium.
Yeah.
If your product doesn't photograph well in a studio setting, it won't broadcast well. It just won't pop on the screen.
So no grainy iPhone photos.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But once you actually get past the photo stage and get on air, the pressure intensifies exponentially because airtime is extremely limited.
Every single second is calculated.
Every second. The live demonstration has to be perfectly dynamic, which is why they almost always use professional QVC presenters to drive the segment, rather than the actual inventors of the products.
Which is kind of sad for the inventors, but makes sense.
Yeah, the inventors might know the product best, but they usually don't know how to command a camera.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You aren't actually selling a physical product. You are selling a narrative.
Yes, the narrative.
It's a concept Retailbound calls story selling. You have to figure out what deep underlying problem your product solves for the viewer. How is it invented? What emotional pain point does it relieve?
Right.
QVC flips traditional retail entirely on its head. It operates as a media and entertainment company first and a store second.
Let's deconstruct how that actually works in real time, because it's brilliant. The most successful brands in the world don't just sell utility. They sell an identity or a solution to an emotional problem.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, if you're selling a mop on QVC, you don't start by listing the tensile strength of the handle. Right. You start by talking about how frustrating and back-breaking it is to clean up after a messy family dinner. You tap into the viewer's exhaustion.
Oh, I see.
Then, you present the mop not as a cleaning tool, but as a magic wand that gives them their time and energy back.
That is so smart.
And on QVC, this narrative arc is hyper-condensed. You have maybe 3 to 5 minutes to tell that compelling story, demonstrate the practicality so they believe it actually works, prove the high quality, and highlight the unique features.
And you have to do all of that while maintaining a relentlessly entertaining, upbeat energy.
Exactly.
And while you're putting on this perfectly choreographed show, you also have to leverage the psychological power of social proof.
Yes. Customer testimonials are the absolute cornerstone of the QVC conversion strategy.
I always wondered why they take live callers.
Yeah.
It turns out hearing an existing customer, let's call her Susan from Ohio, call in, or having her positive review read on air is a massive psychological trigger.
It really is.
Why does that work so well?
It bypasses the viewer's logical defense mechanisms.
Interesting.
When Susan from Ohio calls in and says, "This blender changed the way I cook for my kids," it validates the purchase for anyone sitting at home on the fence.
Because it's a real person.
Exactly. It's no longer just a slick salesperson trying to get into your wallet. It's a peer, a fellow consumer, confirming that the risk is worth it. It creates consensus.
And then, right when Susan validates the product, they hit you with the manufactured urgency.
The ticking clock.
Yes.
Wow.
The countdown clock appears on the screen. The inventory counter starts ticking down. You're sitting on your couch feeling like you need to make this purchase right then and there before the live offer expires.
Because it looks like literally everyone else in America is buying it too.
It's so effective.
It's brilliant. Which is why Retailbound strongly advises that any potential vendor must rigorously study the network before pitching.
You can't just wing it.
Not at all. You have to regularly watch QVC with the notebook in hand. You have to understand their specific pacing, the presentation styles, the exact price points that trigger those impulse buys.
And how different product categories are handled, right?
Yeah. You have to treat the network's ecosystem like a behavioral science. It's really about engineering that perfect, delicate balance between demonstrating practical features and hitting the exact right note of emotional resonance.
Okay, so you do all your homework, you master the science of story selling, you make the pitch, you beat the 95% rejection rate, and you finally get your product on live television.
Huge achievement.
Massive. The camera goes live, you hit all the emotional pain points, the phones light up, thousands of units are gone in minutes, you sell out.
Incredible.
You won, right? Time to pop the champagne and celebrate.
You'd think so.
But actually, this is where things get really scary. Because your presentation worked too well, you now face your biggest existential threat yet, surviving sudden success.
This raises an important question, though. It's the ultimate paradox of gaining access to a platform that broadcasts into 380 million homes.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of demand can be fatal to your company if you aren't truly prepared for the aftermath.
The consultancy makes it explicitly clear. Once you are in, and once you have sold out on air, That is when the real nightmare begins.
It really is.
You experience this massive, sudden spike in demand. And fulfilling that demand isn't just about throwing things in boxes. It requires flawless inventory management, highly efficient logistics, and rapid supply chain adaptability.
It's a systemic shock for most businesses.
Yeah.
Just imagine you're a business owner who is used to selling a few hundred units a month on a Shopify website.
Okay, pretty manageable.
You handle the shipping yourself. Maybe you have a small local warehouse. But suddenly, you just moved 10,000 units in 10 minutes on live television.
Oh man, panic mode.
Total panic.
Yeah.
Moving those orders requires a fundamentally different operational infrastructure. You need third-party logistics. You need flawless communication with your overseas manufacturers.
Right.
You need perfectly synced inventory tracking so you don't accidentally oversell.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose while you're still building the plumbing for your house.
That's a great way to put it.
You got exactly what you wanted, massive exposure and sales, but now you have to hold on for dear life so the logistical reality doesn't turn around and drown your brand entirely.
And if a brand cannot sustain that sudden, explosive growth, does a single successful QVC appearance actually do more harm than good?
That's a scary thought.
Let's say you sell out on air. Fantastic. But then your factory is delayed by 2 weeks, or the manufacturing quality drops because they rushed the massive order. What happens?
You fail to deliver.
Exactly. You fail to deliver the products to those 30,000 eager buyers on time. You've now damaged your brand's reputation with those consumers, and infinitely worse, you've damaged your relationship with QVC.
Because you just ruined their trust factor.
Precisely. QVC has to process the refunds. QVC handles the angry customer service calls, and they will likely never, ever invite you back on their network.
You really get one shot.
Just one. The ultimate goal, as the guide lays out, is to become a preferred vendor. You want QVC to trust you for consistent supply and reliable quality over the long term.
Because that generates annuity income for your business.
Right. Not just a one-time viral segment that burns you out.
Yeah.
You have to prove you are responsive, reliable, and ready to adapt to their very strict logistical demands.
And there's another major reality check we haven't even touched on yet, which is the profit sharing.
Ah, yes.
Partnering with a retail giant like QVC isn't free. You are giving up a significant portion of your profit margins in exchange for access to that captive audience.
It's a heavy toll.
Brands have to fiercely negotiate terms and conditions to ensure that the massive exposure and the high volume of sales actually outweigh the deep discounts they are offering the network.
Which perfectly highlights why a brand would need a dedicated consultancy like Retailbound in their corner to begin with.
Oh, definitely.
Navigating these cutthroat buyer relationships, negotiating those razor-thin profit margins, and plotting long-term retail growth strategies in an environment this complex, it's incredibly daunting.
I would be terrified.
Having experts who understand the underlying math, how to structure the theatrical pitch, and how to bulletproof your logistics is often the deciding factor.
Yeah, the difference between a brand that flashes on screen once and fades into bankruptcy and a brand that scales sustainably into a household name.
Exactly right.
So what does this all mean? We've just followed the entire intense journey of a QVC product, from a business eyeing that unbelievable 380 million home audience to trying to survive that brutal 5% acceptance rate and the massive wholesale stress tests.
It's a gauntlet.
It really is. We've seen how they have to completely master the theatrics of story selling, literally pulling at your heartstrings while demonstrating a mop, and finally, how they have to brace their entire supply chain to survive the shockwave of going live and selling out.
It completely reframes the television shopping experience, doesn't it? It's not just a late-night punchline. It's a masterclass in engineered commerce.
It really does. Whether you are a product creator dreaming of scaling your business, a marketer studying the psychological triggers of consumer behavior, or just a curious person sitting on the couch with the remote, understanding these hidden mechanisms absolutely changes the way you look at the things you buy.
It does. And it leaves you with something quite profound to consider regarding our current retail landscape.
What's that?
Well, QVC spent decades perfecting this specific story-selling model, right? They combined high-quality visual presentation, the powerful social proof of testimonials, and a carefully manufactured sense of urgency to sell physical products.
Right.
But think about the digital world you live in today. How much of this exact same QVC formula is being used right now on your social media apps, on live streams, or by the personal influencer brands you interact with online every single day?
Oh, wow. That's a fascinating point. When an influencer shows you their morning routine and links a skincare product with a limited time discount code, they're just doing the QVC pitch.
It's exactly. Are we all just shopping on a massive, decentralized, modern version of QVC every time we open our phones entirely without realizing it?
I think we might be. And the next time you find yourself at 2 in the morning, mesmerized by a high-tech blender on your screen, you'll know exactly how much blood, sweat, and logistical math it took just to get that blender in front of your eyes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.